Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is the T1 heavy tank. It's a tier 5 American heavy tank. It's located on the west spawn of Westfield Encounter, and it's under the command of Red Dog Alpha 1. And it's the first in 2 replays we're featuring for him today. And you can see he's got 3 marks of excellence on the barrel of that main gun. Now this is the same main gun you actually find on the M4. It's a 76mm main gun. It's capable of doing 115 alpha and 128mm of penetration with standard ammo. With the premium rounds it goes through 177mm, and with the HE rounds you can do 185 alpha with 38mm of pen. Now it's one of the first heavy tanks that the Americans actually built. They started development work of this in May 1940, before they were even in the war with Germany and Japan. In fact, before Japan even started with Pearl Harbor. That was in December 1941. So the Americans were forward thinking. They were actually thinking about they needed some heavy metal to actually deal with American tanks, deal with enemy tanks, either German or Japanese. Now it does have good armour at the front of the vehicle. In fact, fairly good, 101.8mm on the front of the turret, and it's 95.3 on the front of the hull. But it's fairly weak on the side, so you don't want to present your side to the enemy if you can help it, because the enemy will get good pen. And oh, we've got enemy tanks trying to run away, and we're now engaging their rears because they're just not interested in what's going on behind them. They're more interested in what's going on ahead of them, and they paid for that because yes, you can see Red Dog Alpha 1 got 423 hit points basically free of charge, because all he had to do was blast them in the rear as they were running away. Well, up on top of that rise we've got a Japanese tank. It's a Chi-He, and he's pumping rounds into it, but he is starting to receive fire, and he's angled at the moment, which is not good because you really ought to be facing the target to shoot at it. He did take some damage, but only a minor shot. Now he's receiving fire from the AEC just around the corner. He's running away. Obviously he doesn't want to get hit. Yeah, it's the new wheelies, British wheelies. Okay, what else can I tell you about the T1 Heavy? Well, it had a hydro-mechanical transmission system with double disc hydraulic converter, and it also had a full cast hull as well, including the, I believe the turret was cast as well. He's starting to receive some damage from enemy tanks. He needs to be careful. He does have gun depression, 10 degrees of gun depression, and he's been tracked. And he needs to pull back after he's been tracked so the enemy can't get shots on him. The M8A1, which is the Scot, has got very little armour, but they are pumping rounds into him, and he's lost virtually all of his hit points. He's only got a third left after that confrontation. Although he did do a fair amount of damage on the enemy. Okay, AEC. Oh, just narrowly missed the Bishop there, who landed a shell near him, but not on him. There's the M8A1 again. Get the kill. Yep, got it nicely. Now the AEC's around. The Bishop can't see us. There's the AEC. Got wiped out. Okay, what we've got there is the SU-2 122. He needs to get rid of that guy because he's got a wicked 2-barrel 122mm howitzer as his main armament. I say howitzers, it's basically what they are, but in a horizontal mode. A bit like a double KV2, you might say. Okay, well, he's going to move forward. There's not many enemies left. There's only 6 of them, and that includes the Bishop. There's the SU-2 122 again. Now he can fire both his barrels at the same time. If he does, though, it kind of ruins his reload. And in fact, he has gone down. Unfortunately, we lost our M10 RBFM as well. We're rushing after this T-34, and we've now discovered a number of enemy tanks all over the place. In fact, it looks like their BT-7 came down from the other side of the hill. There's the T-34, nicely driven around to get it in. He's got a 57mm gun, so he's capable of doing 85 alpha each shot, but it goes down to the overwhelming firepower of that 76mm. BT7's next. He's not going to survive very long because, of course, he doesn't have a whole lot of hit points, but he's got virtually no armor whatsoever, which makes him an easy kill. Just needs to pump those rounds in. Oh, he got a fire as well, and he took the guy out with the fire so that he got an arsonist. So next is the Bishop. He's one of only 2 enemies remaining, and I think we rather want to get a shot into him if we can. 2 shots to kill. Well, we missed out on the kill because our Stugdrei B got the kill instead. But there's only 1 enemy remaining. It's Matilda. Now, he does have armor, but he only has a 2-pounder gun if he's got the standard gun that most people put into it. So he can only do about 55 alpha. And although we're down to just 86 hit points, he could take us out with 2 shots. But he's actually very low on hit points himself. 2 shots would be enough to take out the Matilda as well. So 2 shots to kill us, or 2 shots to kill the Matilda. Which is it going to be? This is to win the game. Oh, and the Matilda goes down to the SAU-40. But that is a win for Red Dog Alpha 1. Well, it was a shame that Red Dog Alpha 1 didn't get the kill on the Matilda. He was 1 kill away from getting a Top Gun. He got a first-class tanker in that game as well, so he did perform exceptionally well, although he did lose a lot of hit points in the game. He got a fighter effect for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle, a fighter badge for getting at least 4 kills. He actually ended up with 5, 1 short of getting a Top Gun and 1/3 of the enemy team. He got an arsonist because he set light to one of the enemy tanks, so the BT7. He was burning when he went up, and he also got a duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him. A bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 8. A hand of God for surviving the battle, having received damage from at least 4 different enemy tanks or more. And on top of that, he picked up a Spartan medal for surviving a ricochet non-penetrating shot when he had less than 10% of his hit points remaining. A high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game. And on top of that, he got a steel wall for blocking the most damage in that game overall. His win rate was very high, 14,086, which is super income and a lot more. Let's have a look at team score. Well, we can see that he easily got the highest damage in the game. 2,876 hit points went to Red Dog Alpha 1. The next highest scorer being the AEC on his own team, who managed 1,090. And he was the only other player who managed to get over 1,000 hit points of damage. The highest, the third highest, in actual fact, is the Excelsior and the SU-2 122 on the enemy team. They both managed to get 984 hit points exactly. So they shared the 3rd place honors. When it came to kills, yes, Red Dog Alpha 1 had 5 kills, just 1 short of getting a Top Gun. It would have been so nice. He was actually communicating in chat, telling his teammates, but I'm afraid the urge to kill that Matilda was too strong, and one of his teammates got him instead. 2 kills went to the Stugdrei B, the T67, and the SAU-40. He was the one who got the kill on the Matilda in the end. And 2 kills also went to the SU-2 122 on the enemy team and their Wolverine. When it came to base XP, he's the only player to get over 1,000 base. He got 1,298. In fact, he got the top in all 3 columns on that basis. 775 went to the Excelsior and 623 went to the AEC. So he really did carry that team and win that battle almost single-handed. Not quite single-handed, but close. 34 shots fired, 27 direct hits on the enemy, 27 penetrations, damage of 2,876 hit points, of which 122 were at more than 300 meters. So most of the damage done at close range. 22 hits received from the enemy, only 8 of which actually managed to pen him, and 10 non-penetrations, 5 hits by way of splash damage from the enemy Arty. The problem was that he was actually presenting his weak side armor to the enemy so many times. That's how the enemy managed to get those 8 penetrations, because while he was attacking one tank, the other enemy tanks were catching him in a crossfire and they were shooting into his side. It's only at the front of this vehicle which is actually really strong. The sides are fairly weak. He also managed to get 615 hit points damage blocked by armor, 3 enemy vehicles spotted, 9 enemy vehicles damaged, 5 killed, and 368 hit points of damage assistance. On a premium count, he earned 86,167 credits profit, 25 bonds, for mission achievement, and 3,894 experience points altogether. So a very good game there from Red Dog Alpha 1, but not the only replay we're featuring in this video. Let's have a look at replay number 2. The second replay is in the Semovente M43 Bassotto. It's the Tier 6 Italian tank destroyer. Game on. Well, if he's got the big gun, he's got the 105mm, and yes, it's showing well. 102mm, with 360 Alpha, 175mm pen. So he hasn't got the 105 actually, after all. He's got two 15mm pen with the standard heat rounds, or the premium heat rounds rather, and with the HE rounds he's capable of 440 and 45mm pen. Now, Bassotto actually means dash hound in Italian. So development, they started in 1942. They only made one prototype of this vehicle before the war ended for Italy, and 12 units were built in 1943, and they were used by the Italians against the Germans. The Germans actually quite liked Italian machinery, not because it reminded them of Ferrari or anything like that, or the fast cars, or even cheap cars for that matter. It's just they were well built, and they withstood a lot of damage, just like the Stug in many senses, and that's what this vehicle reminds me of. Well, that Skoda's come a little way too far forward. He's now about to pay for that. Just needs to get the gun down on him. Couldn't get the gun down. That's unfortunate there. Okay, now we've got him. Let it settle. Nice. Go. Yes! Perfect shot. Wiped him out with one round. Okay, standard APCR really helps as well, because it does cut through the armor. Okay, it was intended to mount the 25 caliber cannon, the 105mm. The Germans continued to build them, even though Italy had already joined the other side, so to speak. And they actually did use some of them in one of their units as well. They put the M43 with the 105mm 25 gun, and it called it the Stug M43, funnily enough, as well. Started development work on this tank destroyer in 1942, which is quite early, you might say, compared to the Sturmgeschütz, the Stug, which were actually quite a late development in the war. But obviously the Germans realised the Stugs were quite effective, because they were killing more tanks than the standard tanks were killing. And that's, I think, down to the fact that the vehicle was very, very low. Not tall at all, which made it much more difficult for the enemy to spot them. Now these two guys have decided to go out front, and that will give us a chance to put some rounds into him. The AMX 1375 suddenly realises he has been spotted, and he is now being penetrated. That's 388 from that shot alone. But we did get spotted. Can you get another shot in? Yes, he does. He gets another hit for 381. The AMX is running for his life. Unfortunately, we did lose one of our teammates, but the T-150 is down there, and he's down. He basically badly needs our help right now. We're just waiting onto that target as he's running away, the AMX 1375. Okay, so there might be some enemies down there at the moment, but we really do need to push on that corner as fast as we possibly can, because we've got a number of tanks down there. Oh, that's the reason why he held back. Okay, he auto-aimed onto that one. He should have just manually aimed it. The SU-100, waiting for the reload to go through. He could be manually aiming, you see, then that he wouldn't have to wait for the vehicle to stop. But he did get another 244 when he wiped him out. Okay, GW, stop, take a shot. He's auto-aimed on again. Well, the target was wiped out in the end by the T-43, so we didn't get anything from that one. But he was letting the aim settle before he shot. Dispersion's actually quite high on this tank, so it's a good reason for him to take care and aim properly. You can see one of the enemy shots actually went straight through the roof of this vehicle, which isn't particularly thin, or it isn't particularly thick, I should say. But now the enemy, well, they're on the other side of this field. There's one up near the railway line, is the M2Y. Then on the other side of the railway line, they've got a box tank. And on this side, somewhere, there's a KV2. There's the M2Y. Okay, we're settling. Let it dial in. Now, you see, you went to auto aim again, and you shouldn't be doing that. You should be manually aiming to ensure that you can follow the target. If you auto aim on it and jerk, you won't get the targets that you want to get. Again, he got the wrong angle there on the M2Y. Really needs to hit the tank when he's side on. Can't see the KV2 at the moment, but if we cross the battlefield to the midpoint, use the trees ahead of us, we might be able to spot him. Kind of enclosing the enemy in a corner of the map now. Okay, now ideally he wants to go back and then come down the other side. There's a set of bushes to the right. Those are the ones he really needs to be using, not these ones. You can see from here, but he's much better off. Now the T-43 is moving ahead. We should be aiming slightly to the right because the box tank's on the other side of the railway line, so we're not going to see him over there. We're going to see him slightly to the right, the KV-2R. He thinks the KV-2R's moved a bit further forward. And that T-43 is taking a hell of a risk, because if that KV-2R is still there, then he's going to get wiped out. In fact, I can see shots coming back at the T-43, which tells me there are enemy tanks in the vicinity. And there's one of them. It's the AMX 1375. Oh, there's a lot of them. And the Cromwell. Now, he's auto-aiming the Cromwell. Gets one pen for 370. It's gone to the... Oh, the AMX 13 F3 trying to run away. And he gets the kill shot on the Cromwell. So at least he's got 3 kills out of the game, but there's still 3 enemies out there, including that KV-2R, and there he is. That's what I was worried about. He was a little further down. Now, he can't go in. There's no depression for him to run into there. He's just using the bushes to stay in sight. That shell probably did actually hit the target, so he should try another one. The box tank is the other side. Forget about him. Just need to go for that set of bushes there, because he's not going to move too far away from it. I think that one connected as well. Go for it again. Okay, go to the next set of bushes on the next part of the field. Going to get closer. Our guys are coming down from the hill. So it's the last 2 remaining enemies, the KV-2R and the Skoda T40. The KV-2 is in sight, and in fact, actually, he's trying to get over the railway line. He's gone, and it looked like he had very little in the way of health left. So I suspect that he did actually take a couple of those blind shots that Red Dog Alpha 1 fired. The Skoda T is right over the other side of the battlefield, over the railway line. We're not going to get near him before our teammates get to him, but we might as well try. And that's it. Game's over. It's a victory. Here's the end of battle results, and that was the first class tanker for Red Dog Alpha 1 in the Bassotto. He managed to get a fire effect for doing more damage than the hit points of his own vehicle, bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 6, and he did get the high caliber for dealing the most damage in that game overall. His win rate from the game was 5,979, which is Super Unicum standard and a bit more. Let's have a quick look before we go over to the other page, because look at that. He did penetrate the guy twice. 749 hit points. So one of those 2 shots actually did connect and penetrate the KV-2R. So yes, it was worth shooting at those bushes. He managed to get the highest damage in the game, 2,629 hit points. Second highest damage was the SU-100 on the enemy team, 1,652. And the third highest damage was the KV-2R on the enemy team with 1,403. When it came to kills, he shared the top spot with the KV2R on the enemy team and the T43 on his own. They both all managed to get 3 kills. The T43 got a Pascucci, so he killed both enemy Arty. And of course, we can see Red Dog Alpha 1 got the high caliber. When it came to joint second place, I should say, the T29, the Jackson, the Achilles, and the M483E2, as well as the AMX M445 on the enemy team, all managed 2 kills. When it came to base XP, he's got that one as well. So he's got the top in all 3 columns, and it's 1,043. He's the only player to get over 1,000 base, with the next highest being the T29 with 720, and then the T43 managed to get 682. The AMX-13 F3AM on his own team managed to get a Confederate, and so did the Crusader SP on his team as well. So they were very, very active. Well done. Let's have a look at detail. 16 shots fired, 11 direct hits on the enemy, 8 penetrations, 2,629 hit points of damage, of which 1,860 were done at more than 300 meters. He was trying to stay long distance away from the enemy and be a kind of standoff tank destroyer and snipe from as far away as possible. 1 hit received, it was penetrating shot, it went right through the roof of the vehicle, as you saw, created quite a nasty hole. 5 enemy vehicles were damaged, 3 were killed, 675 hit points of damage assistance. On a premium count, he actually earned a profit from that game, 34,106 credits, and he also took away 3,129 experience points. Now, far be it from me to criticize somebody who's actually got a playing technique that tends to work and produces results like this, but I feel he could do better if he was to manually aim the gun instead of going straight to auto aim on some of these vehicles to let the aim dial in before he shoots, because some of the vehicles, like the M2Y for that matter, he probably could have hit them whilst that guy was maneuvering, and hit the side of the vehicle, and he probably would have taken that guy out. Instead, his shell bounced off the armor. And likewise with some of the other targets he shot at but missed because, well, he just couldn't get the aim to dial in. Maybe he could have fired at the GW Panther a fraction of a second quicker, taken the shot when it was almost fully dialed in, and that would have gained him another kill as well. But as it is, he did have a good game, so I can't knock that. Unfortunately, this is Red Dog Alpha's account on the NA server, and Red Dog Alpha 1 is in Australia, and I'm afraid that the bad news is that Wargaming are now closing down the Australian New Zealand server, which means that everyone will have to go on to the Asia server, which is where all the Hong Kong people are, and they're not the best players, or at least they're not very nice players, to put it bluntly. And so, unfortunately, from now on, most Australian New Zealand players are probably going to have to play on the NA if they want to get a good game, instead of actually going on to the jungle that is the Asia server and having to play against people who are going to, how should we put it, bend the rules a little. So, I hope you enjoyed both those replays. If you did, please give this video a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm, and thank you for watching.